put it into techno speak, it's an issue of bandwidth, right? Like if you're talking to someone in person, you have the oral information, what they say, the visual information, like their posture and their body language and the surrounding context, and all this massive amount of information that's processed instantaneously, just because our brains can do that and they're impressive. Then consider boiling all of that information down into text and how much context and information gets lost along the way.
Yes.
So misunderstandings happen like it's nobody's business because, of course, there's just less information being conveyed at any given time.
I also think that in our high-speed society, because communication and self-reflection is so much work.
Yeah.
And we work so much that we do not have the energy to work on ourselves anymore. Yeah. So a lot of people, they go the path of least resistance, and which can become like this kind of toxic egoism.
Yeah.
Like selfishness that that hurts other people.
Yeah.
Or like just plain laziness to communicate properly. I think if there would be more awareness and energy for self-reflection, the communication would like greatly benefit from it.
Yeah.
I'm Ben. Hi. I'm an independent developer based in Vienna, and I mainly focus on virtual reality experiences and small quirky games in VR, mostly working with the topics identity or other social topics. And today we have Danny from Clockwork Bird with us, who is also in Vienna now, together with James Patton. Or are you still in Graz? No, you're
I'm in Graz.
Oh, you're still in Graz, okay. Because you wrote that you were in Vienna the other day.
I did.
But fine.
Oh.
Good. Yeah, so they're a team of two, and they developed a wonderful game, Silicon Dreams, a futuristic dystopian sci-fi interrogation game where you play as an android.
Correct.
And yeah, I was very, very excited when I heard it because I loved Detroit Become Human so much, where you also can play an android. So yeah,
isn't it like when I saw the trailer, and guys, we will show you guys the trailer soon. When I see the trailer and I read all the reviews, I couldn't play it yet. I'm so sorry, but I had the feeling like if you remember on Blade Runner, just the interrogation scenes, you know, and it's like you're in there, you're in that room, right? Is that the feeling you want to get there? So you all remember Blade Runner, right? In the chat. So yeah, just and what kind of Android are they then? Are they like Nexus or like what do we expect there? Give us a little bit, maybe we start with that, so we get a picture for how you see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, essentially the game boils down to Voight-Kampff interrogation, the game. That was essentially our guidepost for the kind of experience we wanted to make. And especially drawing on Blade Runner, the kind of stories we want to tell. So in Silicon Dreams, you play an android, as they so wonderfully told already. You are an interrogation model android designed for the specific purpose of conducting these interrogations, troubleshooting devices, created by and owned by, maybe you could say employed by Kronos Robotics, one of the world's largest corporations at this point in history. The game's set in the 2060s. And it's really those three things, your creator, your owner, and your employer, really sets the stage for a very interesting game that pulls you in a lot of different directions, just for the fact that you're not a person owned by this corporation. Yep. So it's your job to interrogate androids if an owner says that they're broken or something's wrong or they're unhappy, or Kronos delivers you a unit and says we think they're doing something they're not supposed to. It's very wide ranging, the reasons that another android, or in fact, in rare cases, even a human, will be brought to you to be interrogated.
That's super cool. It's like I read so much positive stuff about it. Maybe one more thing before we dig in there. Cylon here in chat has his birthday today, and he's
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
For my side again, happy birthday, and thank you so much for being on your birthday with us here. I think that's I'm super grateful for that, really. For all of you, of course, tuning in here. We will have a giveaway today. Did I say that before? I can't remember.
You didn't yet.
I didn't yet. So guys, we have a giveaway today here. So yeah, stay with us, and this will be fun. Maybe we can go back a little bit. We didn't even go to the basics, like who are you?
Yep.
Where you from?
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a great place to start. Now that you know what the game is, I can tell you about me.
Thank you.
The less important of the two topics, but
I want to show the guys the trailer, but I think like maybe let's just start with you maybe a little bit first, because it's so interesting if you see then what comes out of that.
Yeah. Well, mine is not a typical story. So my name is Danny, first of all. As they said, one of two participants, members, founding people of the game studio Clockwork Bird. Now living in Graz in the wonderful country of Austria. Born and raised in the United States. Went to university in Seattle. I've been in the country now for 7 years or so. I got my start in games non-professionally, just as something fun on the side, working on analog storytelling games. So this would be something like Dungeons and Dragons, with far fewer rules and with much greater emphasis on storytelling, specifically collaborative storytelling. So I won a few prizes doing that. It was pretty exciting. And that path led me to found a meetup group in Vienna, playing these types of games, introducing people to this type of play. That led me to get a spot at a video game conference in Vienna, where I met Jamie one fateful day, and we played a game together about being witches casting spells by drawing on your arms with marker. And the rest, as they say, is history. We headed off right away. Developed a few small game projects on the side. And then after his original game, Spin Mortality, this is a cyberpunk management sim. After that really took off, he had the financial flexibility to bring me onto the team. And for the last 18 months, we were working on Silicon Dreams. So my first ever video game project from start to finish outside of university courses, my first ever commercial project. It has been a lot to learn, but it's been a wonderful time, and I couldn't have asked for a better person to design games with. So that's a little bit about me. For more specific questions, you'll have to ask more specific.
I was waiting for Ben here to jump in. I didn't want to jump in there right away. I don't know, Ben, if you want to say something, you have to be quick. My patience is very low.
Yeah. I saw that before when you interrupted me.
Yeah, exactly.
No dead air. Not allowed.
No dead air. I tried to hold myself back. That's all. That's what I wanted to say. By the way, guys, we had a little pre-secret interview again. So there it is. I said it.
So we want to watch the trailer?
You want to see the trailer? Really? Now? Okay.
No?
Yeah, we can do it. Are you ready?
Let's talk about the game. I think that's most important.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about the game, they should know at least a little bit about what's going on.
Ah, damn. Okay, let's go. Let's go, guys.
What did I see this time? The skyline really popped to me this time. That was one of the final shots that I captured to submit to our trailer person, was the panning shot of the skyline, and it was in the midst of the rest of capturing all the footage, which is an enormous task, much more work than you would imagine. Yeah, just that's one thing that you see so seldom in the game, and seeing that slow pan across the city skyline at the end really popped out.
How long did it take you to make the trailer?
So we contracted someone to make it for us, but I had to gather the footage. I was probably on it for 2.5 or 3 days, all said and done. With revisions and reshoots, and this isn't quite the right angle, or this is in the background and shouldn't be visible. All those little tweaks and fixes. It was a couple days of just capturing footage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I usually took me about 2 weeks for each trailer that I did. A lot of work.
Yep.
Did COVID affected you guys during the production time? Like I said, you said up front in there. Maybe I can say that quick. It should have not taken longer than 6 months. That's what you actually planned for, and it took you like what was it? 12? 18? 18 months, right, to finish it.
Yeah.
To launch. Last week, by the way, 20th was the launch of this game. That's how new it is, guys.
Very new. Brand spanking new. So actually, those are two really interesting things that we could talk about on their own. But to answer your question, COVID didn't really affect us. We were remote from the very start. Jamie lives in Vienna. I live in Graz. So that's how it was always going to be. We founded in late December, early January 2020, right around when COVID was starting. So we really haven't known anything else from a working perspective as a studio. The delay in time was just partially the game growing into its own, like taking as long as it needed to take to a certain extent. And from another side of things, like we just had some big missteps. We really underestimated how important the art was. We're not artists. We're on a shoestring budget. So it was really difficult at the very start to justify contracting someone. And, for a small studio, it's like, oh my God, we have to pay, so much money just to get some 3D assets when we could technically make it ourselves. But that was feedback from a lot of people that the art really needed to change, and they were totally right. So that pushed back our time quite a bit. And then on the other side, we just got lucky in certain cases. We won some prize money for pitch competitions locally in Vienna. We were granted some COVID relief money from the Austrian government, and so that gave us the freedom to continue working on the game. So it's really an interesting mix of sort of necessity and the good fortune to extend that timeline, that launch date as we did.
How much did it cost finally till you're now there? Can we ask that? Can we
Oh
know
boy,
that?
you can't ask that. I don't know if I have the answer.
You need to be
I don't
closer now,
have.
Mike.
I would love to give an answer, but I don't have a concrete enough number to even give a good guess and be sure that it's right. So I think I'll just.
Okay. Yeah, no
I'll
worries.
just not
No worries.
answer on this one, not because I wouldn't, but.
No, I'm just asking because you said up front also you're very open about, you know, how everything goes and works. So
Yeah.
how important is it actually to be open? Because I see there's a trend going there, especially from indie games,
Yeah.
that they are very open about, you know, how much copies they sell and why is that so important?
I think it's, for me personally, it's important because integrity means a lot to me. Just as an individual, as a business person, from whichever perspective you want to take it. And I think I also studied communication, was my bachelor. So interpersonal communication was my bachelor degree. So open and honest and transparent communication, just as an individual, is very important. I think doubly so from a business perspective, especially, I don't know. Our game talks about massive multinational corporations doing shady business dealings and ruining people every chance they get if they get a foot up. And you know, that's an extreme situation from a fictional world, but we don't want to have anything to do with that. So I think a really good example of what that means to us, aside from just being open and honest about our sales figures and number of copies sold, is the way that we run our business, the way that Jamie and I deal with each other is, you know, there are no set hours. There is no expectation of you have to work XYZ day. Whether it's physical health, you have a cold, or mental health, you're just, something's going on in life. If you need a day, you take your time, and that's what it is. And I think there's that level of transparency demands a certain amount of trust. And we want to build our business in such a way that we can extend that same level of trust to everyone that we work with, whether that's a freelancer or our translators or our artists or musicians, whatever. That is crucial to us because it's not the way that we want to do business. It's not the way that we think business should be done. This sort of underhanded trying to get a foot up at the expense of someone else. And so, like I said, that's an extreme case, but I think that's the impetus for orienting ourselves in that way, is that being upstanding and honest and considerate and concerned about the people that we work for and work with is paramount.
I have so many questions now.
Okay, yeah. One at a time, please, but as many as you want.
Like, I was just reminded of, like, right now it's also a trend that companies try to create a healthy environment for their employees, right? There are even prices you can get as a company in the world. I can't remember the name of the price right now. Is it
It
something?
hurts a little bit when you say that it's a trend now.
Well, it's okay. It's not
Treat
okay.
your
Maybe it's not.
employees properly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can see it also on big companies like Google. They're investing a lot into that, like trying, you know, creating the genius zone for people, basically.
Sure.
Were you interested in that stuff? Were you thinking about that? Because you said like you wanted to create a different work environment, which is built on trust. Are there specifics you are thinking about?
In terms of like, it sounds like you're asking about sort of like benefits, like workplace benefits, like we offer yoga or we offer lunch or.
Yeah, but it is so much more, right? I mean,
it's so much more than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the so much more component of that that's most important to us. That like, yeah, it's great if you offer your employees yoga or something, but if you're only doing that for your developers and not for the janitorial staff, for example, then it's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. If you're going to fire someone because they're sick for 2 weeks, all of that like wellness doesn't mean anything. So yeah, we like we work remote. We don't have an office. We don't have an office space. We don't even have the facilities to offer sort of benefits or things like that. But what we can do is be certain that we, for now, since we're only two, be certain that we treat each other right and commit to, if and when we're able to bring other people on, that we extend those same expectations. Because being able to call into work and say, hey, like, I just can't work today because whatever reason, that's always going to be more important than, I keep using the yoga example, but it's much more important to us to take care of employees on a daily basis and in terms of their work contract than it is to say, here's a lunch buffet, have some muesli.
No, I get it. I mean, I feel like, as I heard you, communication, right? Communication and trust is for you very important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look here. Bloody said as well. Like, big studios like Naughty Dogs had some problems with that. Yes, I remember that too. And also, I mean, just look at the launch of Cyberpunk. I mean, there was there was so much trouble about everything, like the whole production process, and it's definitely something we should talk about more, you know, and ask
absolutely.
more questions, I think.
Because they got a lot of really positive press for taking a no crunch stance. And then, surprise, surprise, deadline comes and they're crunching their balls off. Sorry, can I say that on stream?
Too late.
Too late. It's out there. Right. And you just have that sort of, it's all profit oriented. And it's all, and now the management is getting a huge bonus check. And it's just laughable. Disgusting is the word that comes to mind. It's all trying to get good press and trying to make a buck for the CEOs and mucky mucks, and if you have to like burn out 5 devs or 500 devs in the process, then that's the price of business. Too bad.
Especially with the pre-purchasing strategy they followed with a crazy trailer that looked amazing.
And it was fantastic. Yep.
Taking their money and bailing out.
Sure. Yeah. We're not quite at the level yet where we can have anything to do with that sort of practice or combat those sort of industry standards, because what's a 2-person team when you're looking at a company that hires 400 people?
You can still have crunch.
Oh, yeah.
You can also still have like toxicity in your own company or like shaming for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, we're a 5-people studio, and I have had also my episodes of feeling very uncomfortably because I felt like peer pressured into things and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you have to like speak up, and you have to have a team that is able to openly discuss that. You have to have somebody who is. It's tough with 2 people because you have no neutral position.
Yeah.
Because it's always this versus position. But for us, we have like there would always be someone who's neutral, at least.
Yeah.
That can oversee the situation when it gets emotional, because it usually gets emotional. And
and it has for us as well.
Yes,
sorry,
of
please.
course, yeah.
It just, because of the size that we are, like you said, we never have a neutral party.
Yes.
And that just puts even more importance on being able to be open and vulnerable and honest.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of self-awareness. But I think for us to have this this experience working in such a small team where we do consider ourselves very close friends, and our lives are a little bit more entangled than just being coworkers. I can very proudly say that I feel very positively about the experience that we're gathering now, for all of those reasons that you mentioned, like having no choice but to practice these things and to be good at these things.
Can't run away.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I think that's very interesting. Also, like if you think about like the gaming market has grown so much, so tremendously over the last
Oh my
decade,
God. Yeah.
and I think if a market is you know it's just too fast. I think actually, because so many problems come up at the same time, and you can see it also maybe in point of toxicity. Do you think there's enough awareness, like within the gaming industry and big corporations about that? Like, do they act responsible enough, or could they do more? Can they do more?
I think you can always do more. I think anything can always be done better. And if we just want to take a single point, that like the fact that crunch still exists goes to show that companies aren't really taking it very seriously, I think. And then, of course, there are other topics like sexual harassment in the workplace, which has been particularly prominent in a couple big name studios recently. I'm not the expert there. I don't know. My personality is such that I try to stay away from the news in general because I'm pretty easily overwhelmed and just burnt out by the entire world and can't take it. But I'm aware of these things going on, and aware enough that it's so important to me that I want to be sure that I do it differently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at least you're trying, right? And we all will do, something wrong here and there, but that's how we learn and grow.
Exactly. Yeah.
What did you learn from the funding process of the game?
Ooh, from the funding process. Yeah, number one, art is really, really important. Uh, that's the biggest one. It sounds so obvious, probably, to some people, but it's in our taglines and it's in our studio bio that we make oddball narrative games. Like, to us, the writing and the storytelling and that part of the craft is the most exciting to us, and we don't have experience in the sort of visual art side of the industry, and we very naively assumed that, like, well, if we just tell a good story and the game looks good enough, it will be fine. That is not true. That is very not true. You got to catch eyeballs. Yeah, so maybe that would be the biggest takeaway, is the very tight relationship between the visual state of your game and marketing, and how crucial both of those are on their own, and how doubly crucial they are when those two meet, when you're trying to market the look of a thing, or trying to market a game, that it really, really depends on the visuals if you want people to click on a thing that they've never seen before.
There was this meme graphic that I once stumbled upon where there was like story, character design, mechanics. It's like all the first prize was always like graphics.
Yeah.
And it's like somehow true, sadly, but also sorry. There's also been cases where it worked the other way around.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's no secret recipe. I think a lot of the current like the games market, especially on Steam, is being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
No matter what your game is.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And there's no way to reverse engineer it either.
Yeah, you cannot you cannot make a game that's like Among Us and have the same success.
No. A lot of people are trying now, which is I always find so funny, right? Like, a game takes off, and then 12.5 new studios start trying to make that game again and shovel it out. I just have to laugh to myself.
There's like Flappy Bird.
Like,
I don't know how many million, 100 million Flappy Bird games there are now.
Yeah.
Just because of one mechanic.
And it, like you said, it was at the right place at the right time.
Yes.
It was featured on the Play Store at the right week.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, it's very interesting.
If you don't have like the $500,000 marketing budget, you cannot be seen without luck.
Yeah.
Do
What
you
can
have
what can you do?
marketing?
What can you do though?
What you can do, you can very intentionally seek out the type of people who would most likely want to play your game. So for us, that was some Reddit forums, some Imgur posts. It's all very small budget stuff. We're also lucky enough to have a really good PR company on our side who knows the types of outlets that would want to write about something narrative like what we have. Yeah.
Outlets? Are you talking about people who do reviews and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Content creator?
Content creators, exactly. YouTubers, streamers, actual press, right? Because of course we send something to RPS and Kotaku, but whether they pick it up out of the heap of hundreds of thousands of games they get to review every day. Yeah, so it's just knowing what your game is, knowing what makes your game special, and knowing where to find the kind of people who agree with you. Which we're struggling with, I have to say. Like, it's difficult.
Building a community, right?
Yep.
What's difficult?
Building a community, finding those people, getting your name out, right? Like, Clockwork Bird as a name, as a brand, has only existed for 18 months, technically speaking, only really been pushing an example of the type of experience that we want to keep making for the last 6 months, maybe, since we started really big social media pushes. Yeah, so no one is waiting for the next Clockwork Bird game right now, right? And that's not the case for certain other studios. If you look at Fellow Traveler, for example, or Inkle, those are among narrative circles. Those are very well-known names, and people wait for the next release. Or when they see an article that has the word Inkle in it, for example, they're like, "Oh, okay, I know that." They have that name recognition, that familiarity that we just don't have yet.
No, it's understandable. I was like, are you thinking sometimes about like how your community should look like, how your perfect community should look like what people you're looking for, or stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean the uninteresting version of this answer is everybody. Everybody should like this kind of game.
But that's not possible.
It's not possible. No, it's not. But it's nice to think about when we can get into this later, but we wanted to make a game that sort of encouraged people towards considering their actions and acting with compassion. And so, yeah, it would be wonderful if everybody wanted to play that kind of game. But what does the ideal community look like? I don't know. People who enjoy a well-crafted story but are willing to overlook a few cut corners, maybe, if you wanna put it so crassly.
Yeah. Understand.
Until we're a big budget company, then we don't have to cut corners anymore.
Yeah. The next game will come.
It certainly will. Yeah. Can't say anything about that yet.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
I was so naive, right? In the pre-interview we had, I said like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you. Now everything, you did it. The game is out. Everything is good. And I understand you because of my point of view, of my experience in the film market." And then Ben said, "Here, like, Mizzi, but that's the thing. In the gaming industry, it's completely different. You could basically say the work starts now because the game is out, and now you have to find people who want to play the game."
Yeah, that's the big one.
And that's the big one, right?
Yeah, we're lucky enough that we don't have such a our game is technically complex from a certain perspective, but not to the same degree as a lot of other games, right? Like, we don't have massive graphical glitches or problems with rendering because you're in a static perspective most of the game. So we don't have the same amount of work post-launch that a lot of other games have to deal with. in patching bugs and fixing all of those little things that can go wrong. The work that we have to do really is on the storytelling dialogue end of things, on our backend system that manages how you're shown which sentence when. We've already been able to do a lot of the bug testing on that system with our beta testers and shortly after launch. So I think we're fortunate in that regard that we don't have that massive wave of things gone wrong that have to be fixed in day one patches as soon as possible. But yeah, finding the community is the one that we're still working on.
Ben, you played that game already, right?
Yes.
How do you see it? Well,
Still
what did you like the
enjoy it.
most? What did you like the most about it?
Well, I played the game like also from the first iteration on, because I also already played it pre-Kickstarter when the graphics were still
you can say it.
Work in progress.
Okay. That's a nice way to say it. I was going to say real bad.
No, they weren't bad. They were.
They weren't.
It was a lot of programmer art, of course. Like that's how the artists call it, programmer art, when the programmers do the art. The main idea was there. Yeah, so I lost the silver lining. What was your question, Mizzi?
What did you like the most about it?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna add on, and what did you like the least, or
what
was
I did like the least?
That's on him.
That's my question. Yeah. I want to know.
I know you want to know, and that's.
I'm a sucker for surprising endings, so I will probably can answer the question after the game.
Okay.
Because usually what puts me off of a game is mostly the ending.
Same with the film.
I saw one ending in the trailer already. I'm working very hard towards not getting that ending because I'm a very obedient android right now in the game, and I repair or decommission all the rebellious deviants.
Well done.
I haven't released anyone yet.
Yeah. I find that. How far have you made it?
The last android I interviewed was
Charlie.
Hunter.
Hunter. Okay.
Deviant Hunter.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. That's the third character then.
Was it?
I believe so.
Yeah, if you exclude the tutorial.
Okay, then the second it should be.
No, it was.
If it's Cleo or Alex, depending on which language you're playing, then SM032. R1982 is the Hunter, and then Shakira Barber is the demo character, is actually fourth in the proper lineup.
Okay.
If I have that right. God, I hope I have that right.
You got it wrong. I can watch right now because you have very nice Steam achievements that will tell me how I progressed. I did. Oh, well, there's also the lawyer.
The lawyer?
Yeah, like not the not the lawyer, Bernard.
Ah, the plastic surgeon.
Yeah, surgeon. As a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people I already took care of.
Nice, very well done. Yeah, I found it so interesting. One of the most common comments I've seen either before people start playing or after they start playing and leave a review is, I wanted to go in and for my first experience be the best android I could and be like all the way Chronos, like do exactly what they wanted. And so many of them get shut down anyway. So many of them reach that like not quite the ending or one of the endings, right? And I would be discouraged if people were frustrated by that, but I'm glad to see that most of them aren't. That they realize that the reason they didn't succeed is because they didn't properly understand what exactly was expected of them. In certain situations, there is no proper answer from Chronos' perspective.
I liked what you just told me, and it makes me even more excited for. But I will try very hard to not change my playstyle according to what you just said. because I also want to know now if I get decommissioned because I'm not Android-y enough.
Mm-hmm. It might be.
I really love this also in Detroit Become Human, is the paradoxon of playing an android as a human.
Yeah.
Because you can never be as rational as of what is expected of you.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a really fun time playing with that when we were writing the characters. To draw in some of my my analog gaming experience, that's one of the most fun things for me when I'm leading a game of Blades in the Dark, for example, is to play with player knowledge versus character knowledge.
Yes.
Right? Like, what does your character know? I'm going to tell you something as a human sitting here around the table with me. You know that, but the character that you're playing doesn't. Now role play with that information. And so we tried to sort of bring in a little bits of that, right? With the knowledge that the player is human, they know that they're playing an android, but it's so easy to forget that when you're dealing with these emotional subjects.
I can tell you that exactly what you just said is my favorite part of the whole thing right now. Because that is, that's really what I like in a game, that first of all, it incites an emotion in me, and it makes me curious. Because usually I don't play games twice. I rarely do. I really rarely do.
I'm the same. I rarely finish a game, to be honest.
Well, I'm like a completionist person, very OCD. So I have to finish. I have like this list of games, and I really play them like this, then this, then this, then this, then this. And usually when I start another game before I finished one, I'm very unlikely to get back to it, which is a shame because some of them are very good.
Yeah.
But
I know.
that's what it is.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, that's why I like your game.
Oh, thank you.
In all its simplicity, it does more than most games.
I think that's fair to say. I think you know, I don't want to sound. Never mind. Ignore that start of the sentence. Yeah, I think it's not at its perfected state yet, but I think we did push the boundaries of narrative storytelling in games a bit. Like, this is a system that is new and unique and allows players to have, based on their own reviews, what feels like a conversation with distinct individuals, which is also difficult to do. Like, to get two people to write 11 characters that all feel like their own experience. I'm really excited that we were able to do that, and I think we did it pretty well. And considering that was done with such a dynamic and flexible system that allows you to ask any question at any time, I think it hit the target that we were going for, and I'm really, really proud of that.
That's what I wanted to say next, because compared to the first version I played, where you had to meticulously unlock all the questions.
I think the wonderful thing about that, from my perspective as a designer and as a writer, is we force the player to make that choice to set the tone for the interview after the only thing they know about their subject is what their employer has told them.
Yes.
The only thing you've seen up to that point is a short biography of the subject, the questions that you have to answer by the end.
Yeah.
Then you're expected to know or to have decided how to greet them. If you say, "Hi, thanks for being here," or "You're in serious shit, like get ready."
Good cop, bad cop. That's something you can't do. It's always either good or bad cop. At least I haven't tried yet doing like a 180. Like with Bernard, I think
I was about to say that's the best.
Very well.
That's the best place to do it.
Yeah.
There's that one question. I know exactly what.
Everything out of Bernard with niceness and kindness.
Yeah. Very nice.
I missed out a lot on Shakira, I think.
Oh.
Because I asked so many questions that in the end I couldn't get the extreme emotional status anymore to get answers to some questions, which is also a very nice mechanic, I think, that you have to induce certain emotional status to be able to get information.
Yeah.
And also the trust that is often only hinted.
Yeah. If you get a hint, it's only sort of verbally from the subject saying like, "Oh, okay, I think we're getting along now," or like.
Yeah. It's also very nice. I love it when it's so subtle. And it's also, it's not Skyrim like. You don't have your map with the markers where you have to go. It's not like Pac-Man chasing the dots.
Yeah.
But you can just pick your approach to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I've wondered about this, and I think we briefly touched on it in our pre-interview. This is an atypical niche game in a lot of ways. And one of the things that I've been simultaneously worried about would turn players off, and also something that might be a really big selling point of the game, is just how much control we put in the player's hands. And say like, okay, here's this person, you have to pay attention, you have to know what your goals are, and you have to go chase them down. Through this sort of the metaphor we always used, interesting that you mentioned Skyrim, was rather than building linear dialogue, we wanted to make dialogue that felt like exploring a cave in Skyrim, right? With its branching paths and loops that come back to the main cavern and then go off in different directions, and maybe it's a dead end, or maybe you find a lever down this corridor that unlocks a gate down this corridor. And so that was one of the inspirations for designing our narrative and the dialogue. But we have a lot of expectations that we put onto the player, and it gives them control. It reacts dynamically, which is very exciting, but it's more than a lot of people are used to when it comes to dialogue and story in games.
Yes.
I think. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I really loved the way, like I read a lot of reviews, about the game, and one thing everyone said was like their writing is so unique and thoughtful and intense, because people were like, I thought about this like for days now, what I could have answered and stuff like that. So I was wondering, because you're so interested also in communication, was that for you personally like important, like to make a game where you open up a deeper conversation about when you take another identity, and so like trying to understand each other better in the end?
Yeah, that was very important to me. I think it works really, really well with that sort of core conceit of the game, that you're free to do your job as you see fit, but not really, because the company's always watching over your shoulder, right? And so yeah, that was the sort of push and pull mechanic that we wanted to get in there from the very start, is be sympathetic, be open, like listen to these people, hear their stories, but then also send them to be executed after you've gotten them to open up and manipulated their emotions, right?
So nice.
It's a rough game in a lot of ways. I have to be really honest about that. So from a communication perspective, oh god, that has so much to do with so many different parts of the game. That was a big driving force of the type of dialogue that we were writing, the type of stories and characters that we designed and told.
What's your least favorite character?
My least favorite character is Bernard, because he's just a dick. I mean, he's very well written, and he holds his voice, and he really is who he is, but just like from the perspective of him being a person, he's just insufferable. From the other perspective of like how well I think they are written, I think Bernard is very well done. And probably my least favorite. It's so hard to say because every character went back and forth so many times through so many different revisions that like by this point I'm really satisfied with how every character ended up. I think if I had to pick one, it would be SM115 is the sort of elite platinum level domestic servant. She was sort of in the employ of a business mogul for 10 years, which is extremely rare for an android, an exceptionally long time. And I think I don't have trouble with that character, but there was so much content that was in there originally that ended up getting cut because we just couldn't see all of those threads through to the end. So I think we did a really good job making those choices of what had to be cut and where. But looking back on it, like knowing the characters so well in and out, I see some little dead ends that I would have loved to see through to their end. So I think there's some speed bumps in that one. It doesn't feel quite as fleshed out and quite as engaging as the rest of them.
Did you have this Game of Thrones style tree map with all the branches leading to X, Y, Z?
For each character, you mean, or for the entire network?
For the entire network.
Not for the network of them.
Okay.
We made our own writing software. It's basically a JSON editor that visualizes and draws the connections between which info unlocks which topic where and all of that. So for each character, yes, we have a pretty good, thorough visual overview of each character. But the rest of it just kind of lives in our heads, to be honest, which isn't ideal from a design perspective, especially if we want to go back and augment that and add more, make tweaks and balances. But I think it worked out just fine. Like I said, it was such a fluid, dynamic back and forth process that it all came together in the end.
Was it complicated, because I mean, if the story is so complex, right? And if you want to produce a game like in a very short amount of time, not everything is think through, to the very end, I think, you're right. So how complicated was it in the end? Like you and Jamie working together on this game and you writing the story and he had to, do his stuff in the end.
Yeah. It was such a whirlwind through development that I really don't know how we managed it. The majority of the writing was on my plate. He had his hand in every single character and had sort of sign off approval at every step along the way. But how he found time alongside doing the programming and getting everything in the back end of the system running, I don't know. I don't know how he did it. Was that your actual question? I think my brain went somewhere else.
No, it was more like I figured, I mean, you write a scene, right? And he's working on his stuff, but sometimes, I mean, even when you say you have several endings, you have to come to this point. So it's not like a linear thing you just write because it has to come together. So I thought maybe this was also, if you say you needed more than 6 months, maybe this is one point where it got more complicated on a point, or it took us more time because you figured we need another line there, to get there, or whatever it is.
Yes and no. I think the complexity of the story very much grew organically as the length of the project was extended. So the shape of the game and how the game functioned changed quite substantially. I think as Ben mentioned early on, from the pre-Kickstarter prototype version, it was very lock and key, like go to X question to find Y answer to get to Z question and go further. And then as the timeline kept getting pushed back and back and back and extended, we were able to add just some really small changes from a systems perspective. From an information management perspective, just a few little tweaks and adding a couple little new mechanics in the dialogue system that really just the possibilities for storytelling in that system just exploded. So I mean, I don't want to
Spoil.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but I don't want to sort of. No, this is fun insider information. I think that like there are. How many are there? All said and done, there are 6 unique endings, like final endings for the story, for the way the story can end. Within that, each character can have their own ending that's based on how you handled that specific interrogation. But the game itself can end in 6 ways. And it's really there are a couple numbers that are counting in the background up and down for each character as you play the game. And then from a certain point, there are a couple lines of dialogue that if you see them, or if you don't fill in this on the report, then you will get sent to this group of 2 possible endings or this group of possible endings. So the complexity, this is something really interesting I'd love to get into more. This is one of the topics of my, so I did my bachelor in communication at the University in Seattle. And then at the University in Klagenfurt, I did a master's in game studies and engineering. Yeah, of all places.
Interesting.
It's a long story for another time. But one of the topics of that, one of the things that came up in some of the lectures is there's a very, very interesting phenomenon that works to the benefit of the developers. Ben, you might be familiar with this, that if something cool happens in a game, or not even if something cool happens, players will give a game much more credit for doing things that it's actually not doing, if that makes sense. Do you know?
Yes,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't think of an example from this game right now, but just I don't know. Do you have an example? Nothing's coming to my mind.
Same, but I totally get it. Like this unintentional thing.
Yeah.
That everyone suddenly picks up that you never wanted there to be.
Yeah, even if it's not there in the game, in code, in any way at all,
yes,
they'll say, wow, what a cool mechanic. Like, look at this awesome thing that the game is taking into consideration. And you as a designer are like, that has nothing to do with the way the game works in any way, but I'm so glad you think it's cool.
Yeah.
And to see that sort of thing happening in a narrative game like this one is really special. Like I was worried because I see every little slip up behind the curtain in a line that shouldn't be printed, or in a motion that's not quite balanced right or displayed at the right time. But we have the benefit of players either not seeing that, or it's worse than I think it is because I know the whole thing in and out.
Have you played Hellblade?
Oh, not yet.
Okay.
Oh, no.
There's a mechanic in Hellblade that makes you afraid throughout the whole game that actually doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But on purpose.
Yeah.
So they exploited your psychology.
I love it. Yeah.
Of that thing. Like if you play it, you will. I don't. Maybe you will realize what it is. I'm not gonna spoil it right now. But I played the game, and after Googling, I was like, "Oh my God, they really did that." It's you think it's there, but it's not, but on purpose.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the other way around, like creating something.
Building an expectation,
creating something in the head of the people.
Yeah.
It's a bit like when you there's like a lot of guessing, especially like in your game when you deal with the report in the end. Like, okay, if I answer like this now, will I be bad or good, or can I be in between?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I put this Android to maintenance, or should I actually just kill everybody to be on the safe side, or stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't know how much of how much weight your decision pulls.
I don't want to spoil anything by like destroying that illusion, right? But I will just say that one of the most important lines in the game is when you're interviewing the tutorial character. And I believe it's when you ask about the report for the first time. And Alex says the most important thing is that your answers, the answers that you give and the final recommendation that you give are consistent. And that's essentially how the system works. Like there is a lot of guessing, right? There's a lot of guessing from a player perspective when you don't know the entire story and you don't know the entire back end of the system. But as long as you can read through your answers and say like, okay, they did this wrong, I'm going to put that on the report. They feel this emotion that they're not supposed to feel, I'm going to put that on the report. And then say release them, that's not going to work, right? Because you just said that something's going wrong, so you have to do something else. And that's essentially what it is. There's a quite a bit more going on with that report system than just checking whether it's consistent or not. But to just boil it down to its most simple form, that's all the game really cares about.
I get the feeling that getting this Kronos Robotics ending is going to be very hard.
Getting the like pro Kronos ending. I don't think so, but I know how it goes, right? So it's impossible for me to answer.
Yes. You know how the system works.
Yeah. I learned a very interesting. I didn't learn it. I checked to make sure that it was possible, and I don't know if I want to say it or not.
Don't say it.
This will be nice for you. Okay, don't say it. I won't say it.
Don't say it.
Okay.
I want to just skinny dip in there.
How long does it take to finish the game if you would play it like straight?
To play straight through start to finish, we estimate it really depends on every character. Like if you wanted to speed run the game, we estimate between 30 and 45 minutes per character.
What? Really?
I think
so 11 to 12 characters.
10 hours in the end.
Yeah, we'd estimated about 8. Yeah. Depending on how thorough you are as a player,
this is a perfect stream game, actually.
Yes.
You know, you can just play it through, and you don't need to rush it that quick. You can do like 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can you know.
Yeah.
Invite your chat to join you, and help make it worse.
Yeah, I was super interested. It didn't make it in the game for obvious reasons because we're crunched for time and everything. But I would even still be interested if there's enough outreach from the community and it's not a difficult thing to do to integrate like a Twitch chat voting system. Say like, okay, these are the questions available. Type 1 through 6 for the question that you want to ask. We'll tally them up and then I don't know, just play it on the screen somehow.
Yeah.
I think the APIs are there and it's not too difficult. It's just we don't have the time or flexibility.
It's available on Steam and on itch, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Steam and itch at the moment. Yeah. Maybe other places, but I'm not sure if I can talk about it. I can. We have an application out to GOG right now, so we'll see if that comes through, and it might be available there. But
Lex Neville mentioned.
I can't. Okay. What?
What?
Lex Neville mentioned the term emergent gameplay, which is basically exactly what Silicon Dreams does all the time.
Yeah.
By the way.
So, yeah, exactly. Thanks for the term.
Yep, that is the word.
I apologize, guys, for all the coughing from my side. Of course, I'm sick today. Sunday.
As you predicted you would be.
As I predicted I would be.
2 days later.
And I'm actually really getting a fever right now. So I'm not feeling clearly tonight, as you can see. But I I try my best.
It's editing it out. I cannot do it.
The
Invisible
tea, I have.
Yeah.
I'm drinking so much tea here. That's why I was on the toilet before. That's and I try to. The more I talk, the more the cuffs came up. I was like, stop it. But anyways, I would like to do a personal thing, like
Yeah.
you. If you look on all the problems in the world right now, you know, what's most concerning for you? Do you have anything which comes into your mind?
Yep, right away. And I think the problem that's the most concerning to me, were it to be fixed, would also fix basically every other problem that the world sees. It's just I get the impression when I look at the news or look at social media or look at the wider world, and maybe this is on purpose, right? You know, maybe we're fed negative news on a permanent basis for a reason that someone's decided, right? That aside, I think there is a lack, there's an unwillingness to act with consideration and empathy, and to consider other people's perspectives, and to hear their story, and to have an actual, back to communication again. This is you'll, when you talk to me, this will come up all the time, right? This is the like beacon, the guiding beacon of my life. If people could just talk honestly and share what's really going on and listen openly, there's no problem that can't be solved. There's no disagreement that can't be settled. There's no how that word, compromise, that can't be achieved if you're just willing to listen and talk honestly and openly. And so that's the problem, is that there's a lack of, there's an unwillingness to do that.
But
Can jump on that train.
maybe we just need to learn how to communicate. Maybe that's the problem. Because with the internet, it came, you know, you have so much more possibilities now to communicate.
Yeah.
And it's, I was just thinking about, you know, how it was like before the internet. And I was thinking, like, if then somebody says something stupid, whatever it is, he says it and it's gone. And that's the problem. Now we can see and read everything, and we have to rethink everything. Right?
Yeah.
It's
I think there's an interesting thing there, right? Because there's that sort of permanence of information. Like, if you type something on the internet, it's going to be there forever. But then simultaneously, there's an impersonality to all of it, right? Whereas before the internet, if someone says something to you, they're saying it to your face, or they're saying it on the phone. And that's a very different form of communication than typing something with that blanket of anonymity, where you have sort of a carte blanche to do whatever you want, because no one knows who you really are, no one sees you, no one hears you. You're disconnected from the entire thing, so you can.
Also, there's no emotion to it. Don't forget, communication in real life is not only about the words you use, it's also about the face, the gesture,
body language, facial expression,
everything. And sometimes I think, like, there are certain messages I just don't send people because I know if I talk to them, it's different.
Yeah. It's put it into techno speak. It's an issue of bandwidth, right? Like, if you're talking to someone in person, you have the oral information, what they say, the visual information, like their posture and their body language and the surrounding context, and all this massive amount of information that's processed instantaneously, just because our brains can do that and they're impressive. Then consider boiling all of that information down into text, and how much context and information gets lost along the way.
Yes.
So misunderstandings happen like it's nobody's business, because of course there's just less information being conveyed at any given time.
I also think that in our high-speed society, because communication and self-reflection is so much work.
Yeah.
And we work so much that we do not have the energy to work on ourselves anymore. So a lot of people, they go the path of least resistance, and which can become like this kind of toxic egoism, like selfishness that that hurts other people, or like just plain laziness to communicate properly. I think if there would be more awareness and energy for self-reflection, the communication would like greatly benefit from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, I think also that it comes down to what can companies do to support this. Like there's this there's this company called Mind Valley. They have the first meeting in the day is at 11. Because their employees shall do whatever they want till 11. And even if it's sleeping, they say they don't care, but they know whenever the people come to work, they are fully there.
Totally.
And they support them to do positive stuff in the morning, like whatever, meditation and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, this has been shown by research time and time and time and time again. The 40-hour work week is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. People are... I don't remember the exact number, but on a 20-hour work week, people get more work done than on a 40-hour work week.
Yes.
Because you can take care of all of your chores, you can get your stuff done, you can get your kids to daycare and not be stressed out all the time. You can actually have your life in order, and when you get to work, it's work time.
And you're more productive.
And you're more productive, and you're not like, oh, I need to check my email to do this thing at home, and I need to make this phone call while I'm at work. All of that is gone.
There was a study in Sweden a couple of years ago where they did the 4-hour work day, and it was, I mean, I usually, when I work 8 hours and I think about it, it boils down to 4.5 to 5.
Yep.
What I actually worked. So
yeah.
It's always 4-hour concentrated work would be so much better.
Yeah, and I'm really lucky. Like that's the schedule that I have the good fortune of being on. It's sort of it's a flex time thing, right? Like because contracts work that way. I am on a 20-hour a week contract, but as far as Jamie and I are concerned, like I work as much as I can, sort of filtered through as much needs to be done. And it just works. It's great. It's so good for my life and my mental well-being. Of course, there are times when we work our asses off. Like the couple weeks before launch, I was working probably 40 plus hours a week, but like I was doing it because I wanted to, and because I cared about it, and because work up until that point had been such that I was taking care of myself and was in a space that I could do that.
Yeah.
And even then, even in like the week before launch, he was like, it has been a lot. I cannot work today. And I did the same thing a few days later.
Yeah.
Like nothing is ever going to be more important than taking care of ourselves, because the only thing that's going to happen is we're going to burn out and we can't work for months at a time then. And what good does that do anyone?
The fact that there is this thought of that a thing cannot be delayed. It's like if it's not your heart surgery, it's probably it can be delayed. It can be delayed. And nobody's gonna get hurt. Like if I release Cyberpunk 3 years later and it's a good game, it can be done. But the management doesn't want me to.
Exactly, and that's the problem, right? And that's the problem. And management, maybe even management does want to, but the investors don't allow it.
Somebody.
It's just all of this entire chain of industry that we've built up does not have people's well-being and benefit in mind.
No, it's too big. It's too big. The games industry is like how much bigger than the movie industry right now?
Well, what was it? I think it was 2010, if I remember correctly.
When they overtook?
The games industry overtook every other media industry combined. Film, so music, radio, television, put together was smaller than the games.
It's like what Elon Musk did to Mercedes. They still don't accept it. Like during COVID, it was so funny because he had the online market for his cars. I think his sales overtook the global players of the cars market 100-fold or something.
Yeah.
Like he made billions and they had millions.
Yeah.
It was so crazy.
Yep. Yeah. So coming back to like the problems that I see in the world, I'm hopeful now. Like I feel like people are starting to see that this is nonsense and that like slaving away for your life for a company and getting a sweet retirement isn't really good enough anymore, and it's not sustainable, and it's not like the planet can't take it, individual people can't take it, and it's just bad business when you boil it down. Like if you take care of your employees, you'll be so much more successful than if you like recycle through them like they're meaningless. So I'm hopeful that there's a paradigm shift on the way and that we can wake up
also there will be
enough.
no more sweet retirements because we're gonna work until we're 80 plus or something, probably.
Maybe, I don't know.
And then we'll not get any good pensions anymore because there's no more pensions, or I don't know.
But also automation is coming. So what do we do about automation, right? Like we're simultaneously predicting that we're going to be working until we're 80 and that 60% of the workforce is going to have no work to do by 2040. So where, which is it? We gotta, there's gotta be something's gotta give. Something's gotta change in the way that we do business because this is not gonna work the way it has.
I'm really looking forward to the coming up generation.
Yeah.
They're crazy different and I love it.
Super different. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's really exciting.
It's so cool. Our children will be really the next heroes.
Yeah.
Let's hope we will see that.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I feel a lot of change is coming right now. I mean, just when you look what happened over the last 12 years, you know, there are a lot of new movements going on, and you might not agree with what's going on, but I think on the fact that there's change coming, everyone can agree. The question is, where do we go?
The question is, where do we go?
Where do we go and how? And how much does it take? Right?
Yeah.
It's and I think this whole COVID thing is a good test to see, you know, where problems are again. Bureaucracy is a big thing. Making money again is a big thing. Like, you know, in Germany, it's amazing that I think we get like 3 or 5% people vaccinated right now.
Ooh.
It's it's a lot. No, it's really weird. Do you you had many influences in this game, right? From different directions, and Blade Runner was only one of them. What other influences were there, and how, in what way did they influence the game? Like,
yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, one of the biggest influences, if you've played the game, you know this, you've already seen this for sure, is this conversation that we just had, right? Real world political stuff, a little bit of predicting the future, in terms of like capitalism, global corporations, climate change, race relations is obviously a big part because it's cyberpunk with androids. So I mean, that just is par for the course to a certain extent. Aside from all the real world inspirations, like which are you more curious about, the real world inspirations or other games and media that inspired the game, and how? Which would you like?
Both.
Why not both? Okay, fair. We'll start with the other games then that were the most inspirational. Where to begin? So our two main touchstones would be NeoCab and Papers, Please. NeoCab for the fact that it's one of the only games that I'm aware of that brought in sort of this emotional component in a narrative game. And Papers, Please for the sort of, there was a term that was coined that I really enjoy. The oppressive bureaucracy simulators, of which Papers, Please was maybe the first. Silicon Dreams might be the second. I think we didn't we didn't want to rip off another game. We didn't want to make the next Papers, Please. At the same time, we were hugely inspired by that for the type of game it is and for the type of story it's trying to tell. So really, it was a combination of seeing like what was possible from a technical standpoint and from what kind of game can be financially successful standpoint, and putting our own spin on it and stuffing that through the meat grinder of all of the problems that we have in the world, or all of the problems that Jamie and I see in the world and how we want to talk about those. That was, I think, like, that was the inspiration for the game. For the most part, was what can we do from a technical perspective? Like, what kind of story can we tell with this fantastic medium that is, in a lot of ways, just starting to be explored? And how can we use that storytelling to talk about things that are important and things that matter?
What other things inspired the game? Books?
What
films,
other things? Oh,
real life people.
Lots and lots of things. Let's see. So just the big names of Cyberpunk. Do Android Stream of Electric Sheep, Philip K. Dick. Blade Runner was a big one. Neuromancer. Oh, what else? Yeah, I mean, every work stands on the shoulders of the works that come before it, and this is no exception. But I think one of our biggest touchstones, like one of the biggest inspirations for the kind of story we wanted to tell, was actually the historical account of the Haitian slave revolution. Being an example of one of the only successful revolutions of its kind historically, where a group of oppressed people.
Is what again? A book? It's a book, or what do you?
No, the historical real world event of the Haitian slave revolt.
All right. Okay, that. And what else? What else do you get from like something where you say this is a narrative you really wanted to see in that game? Was there anything specific, like something we can learn from it, where we go through a process?
My mind just went empty. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the question? It's getting a bit.
No, it's okay. Was a complicated question. I was more like interested because if you have so many things you can choose in between, how to act, when to act, where to act. Was there anything, where you said like this is what people should learn from this game when they have played this game, like to see the world from a different perspective or something?
I see. Yeah. So our ultimate hope was to make the kind of game that allowed people to express themselves as they chose, as freely as possible, with the sort of limitations of how much we can write. Fun side note: we are just shy of 100,000 words in the whole game. Yeah, but the kind of experience that we wanted people to come away from the game with was I'm going to put it really bluntly, to see the absurdity of hating another person for their differences. And that's really like one of the main foundations of the game. One of the cornerstones is, I believe even a later character says it at a certain point. It's like people have always hated other people, like for the color of their skin, because they're from a different place, whatever.
Yeah.
Now they don't have that problem anymore. Humans are all fine. They get along. They just shifted that onto androids. And when you see it from that perspective, it's just ridiculous to consider that people would see these differences as being so important enough to hate another person for. So we really wanted to avoid being preachy. I personally have a problem with games that like I say I have a problem. I don't have a problem. I find it hard to get invested in a game that puts me in a role and then tells me what I think in that role.
So you have to take like a political standpoint. They
For
force you
example,
to take it.
yeah. I
Give
think
me, but what
Detroit Become
is
Human
there any
might be an
game which
example.
comes to your mind which
Did
does that?
Detroit Become Human
I did.
would be one. And like this is the thing. I totally agree with the message that they have. It's essentially the same message that we have in our game. But the David Cage and Quantic Dreams is pretty well known for their over-the-top storytelling. And this figure of android Jesus coming to save the day. It just rubs me the wrong way.
It's so Hollywood-esque.
Yeah.
It's extremely Hollywood-esque. That's what
Yeah.
what I hated a bit about Beyond Two Souls. That it's sometimes just too much of an action movie. And
yeah, I think I would even say it's too much of an action movie from like a couple decades ago, before film had really figured out the best way to use the medium. And so I think that's what we were trying to do. Is we were trying to have a game that did include political content and did take a political stance to a certain extent, while simultaneously allowing the player to accept or reject that. For example, you can play the entire game start to finish hating all androids and killing all of them, and the game will never bat an eye. It will never say you're wrong for doing that. On the other side of the token, you can play the entire game saving every android, and the game will never say you're wrong. Like, it's going to be difficult, but that's more a reflection of the world of the game and the world that we as humans inhabit, as Jamie and I saw it. That there are some problems with the ways that people interact, and the ways that business is done, and the things that people hold as most important. And so, to get all the way back to the to the original question, our hope was that well, I'll break it into two parts. Our hope was that we could show people the absurdity of that, and the importance of being able to act with understanding and compassion. I think, as it's demonstrated by that sort of that difficult situation that we put players in, where we say, like we were talking about earlier, choose how you're going to interact with this person before you even know them, and then decide what you're going to do with them after you've had this really deep, heartfelt conversation. So we wanted to play on that a little bit, and encourage people to listen and to sit and to communicate, and actually like get to know an issue before they make those judgment calls. And the other thing that I see is really important has just left my mind temporarily. It'll come back.
By the way, guys, in chat, do we have any Blade Runner fans here in chat? Any sci-fi fans in general?
Sure hope so.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. Besides me, I can't double. Lexia, your spelling is perfect. Detroit. Such a Blade Runner fan? That's perfect. What games? Sorry, couldn't you? Like in general, Blade Runner fans, science fiction fans, bloody. You know what? Shall we do the giveaway now, maybe? Huh? It's now a good time.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Shall we go for it? Guys,
Let's do it.
Do you like to join the giveaway? How many copies do we have though? One?
We have one.
One copy for Silicon Dreams. Nah. All right, guys. So let me check first if that the Nightbot works. No. It still doesn't work. So we have to make it manually, but we will figure that out. That's not a problem. We have not so many people in chat. Because I couldn't test it before. I said, like, I can't test it because there are no people in chat. And now it's giving me stellar.
Ooh, while you're working on that, I would like to make an announcement relating to the giveaway.
Yes, please.
So one lucky person is going to win a free copy, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a wonderful time playing the game. For the rest of you, if this is sounded like something that you would be interested in, there is a free demo featuring 2 almost entirely full characters You missed the sort of review phase of the second one. But there is a free demo available on the Steam page for you to go check out and get a taste of what the game is all about for yourself.
I can highly recommend.
Oh, thank you. I can too, but that might not mean as much coming from me.
All right, guys. And what I would say, just put Silicon Dreams in chat here. Copy paste it quick. And I will use my Google tool again, like last time, and count you guys down. Silicon Dreams. Just put it in chat, guys, to enter the giveaway quick, and I will put your names into the how you call that? The thingy here. The thingy.
The thingy. Yeah.
The thingy. The thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. Yeah, no. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. You have one person to enter, one person to enter.
Yes.
Are there two? Are there two?
Are there two? Someone also just left, just when
Yeah.
we do the giveaway.
Yes.
Oh, poor timing. Oh no.
Poor timing.
Should
Okay.
I enter Lex so it's gonna get a bit more exciting? And if I win, I give it to you anyways.
For you.
I mean, there we go. There we go.
Yay!
Okay.
We have a
Yay.
second one.
I was about to say, Lex
people.
shouldn't be
Nice.
complaining. You're basically guaranteed a free
Right.
coffee. Like,
Now let me
Yes.
copy
Oh, no.
paste here. The names.
3
quick.
people. Oh, there's a lot of people dropping right now. What's happening? 3 people left. Oh, 4 people.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, let's just give it 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we can.
that's- People are coming now.
Yeah, then
They're
let's
waking up.
let's wait another 5 minutes. That's fine by me. It's fine by me.
Yeah,
Yes.
sounds good.
I think you said for this game you're not planning to put in any DLCs, right? Like you're bringing 2 new characters, I think, and all for free. Like
Coming soon. As soon as we can get them tightened up to the appropriate standard, they'll be coming in an update in the next month or so. 2 free characters added on. We would love to add DLC featuring some new stories, either outside of Chronos or following a new unique storyline, or maybe even woven into the existing storyline. That's all yet to be decided. But it's a financial concern at this point, and we're not. Well, to put it bluntly, the game hasn't sold enough copies to justify.
how many copies did you sell yet?
Last I heard was, let's see, before we took a brief vacation on Thursday of last week, we had sold 666 copies.
Nice.
So
Yep.
now we have to make it 999 to
Yes.
keep the legend going.
Yes.
How can people support you if they want to ask? Like, how can we support you the best besides
Support-
buying the game? Yeah, besides buying the
game. Yeah, that's a great question. If you've bought the game, that is the number one way. The number 2 way is a very, very close second. It's just to leave a Steam review. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
As a small studio with a limited following, we are really at the mercy of the Steam algorithm, which is not the most understandable how it
It's
works.
not the friendliest.
It's not friendly either. No. Yeah. So if you have the game, whether you enjoyed it or not, I'd prefer a positive review to a negative one. But I'm not going to say don't leave a review. Yeah. But if you want to show some support and help us out a bit, and you've already bought the game, maybe buy it for a friend as a gift. But aside from that, leaving a Steam review is hugely helpful.
By the way, we never talked about the title. You know, we said like David with us Goliath, and if you think about it, like, or did you think about it when I sent you the title? Do you feel you are David, and do you know ways how to, well, do you even want to challenge a Goliath? Because it's not really.
I don't want to challenge anyone because I think that's a false paradigm. I don't think our success should come at the expense of someone else's. I mean, of course, there's a limited amount of money in the world, and people will only buy so many games. but I don't want to say that our game or someone else's game should be unsuccessful so that ours can be. But to shift perspective a little bit, like we are up against people with vastly larger budgets, and they can put $500,000 towards marketing alone, not to mention development costs. Of course, these are like huge AAAs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For all the reasons I've already mentioned, I think just being a new studio with our first title, relatively unknown, relatively short development time, 18 months longer than we planned as it was, is still on the shorter end for game development time.
Definitely.
Yeah, and all of those things play a role in how much attention you can get before you launch. So the game is niche. The game is atypical. We're hoping for an atypical sort of sales timeline, that this will just spread over time a little bit more slowly than most other games do. But it remains to be seen. And for the time being, we're going to be around working on projects. So.
And you're also still facing thousands of releases every week, where you have to be the one.
Yeah.
You have to be the one standing out. You have to have the best cover art. You have to release at a good release day where there isn't Apex Legends being re-released on Steam or whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
All these things to be considered. It's like one of the things I always tell my students. It's like, if you make a first game, do not release on Steam, because it will crush your expectations so hard. You will have 2 sales or 0 sales. Go on itch.io, try selling for a little bit of money, but I'd rather have 1,000 people spend €1 than 1 people spend €10.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
So yeah, the PC games market is as great as the mobile market when it comes to visibility. Yeah. Epic made it a little bit better if you get in there. It's not so many games.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that Steam.
Did you try ads like on YouTube? Did you try ads like 15, 30-second ads? Or Instagram?
To afford that.
Yeah. We don't have the budget for it, sadly.
Like...
Yeah. And also, who watches them, right? I have an ad blocker.
Yeah.
I assume everyone else has an ad blocker and doesn't watch ads. I think,
Instagram works well. Twitter.
Still many people don't. Still many people don't. You would be surprised.
Don't have an ad blocker, but how many people click on an ad?
Yes.
Oh, you can see it. It works. Still, it works. Like
Does it?
I was working actually as a freelancer over Christmas for Israel and Company, an agency, who were only producing ads for mobile games, and I was editing these ads, and they were all same matter everything. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying I saw the numbers, because you get paid by the company you're doing the work for. There's another company in line, of course. They're the producer, the studio, which was in between.
Sure.
And they see how many people clicked on it and bought the game, and you get paid more as an agency.
Right.
So I mean, they put a lot of money still in there, so it seems to work.
It's also mobile games, and that's a very different thing. Because do you know how much the game costs to buy? Did you have to pay to download the game? Yeah.
You mean the game I made actually?
The
no, I
game
mean
you did the advertisement
when you're talking about like people clicking on an advertisement and downloading a game, was it a free game or a paid game?
A paid game.
Aha. Okay.
Yeah.
A paid game.
Freemium.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, of course, if it's a free game, it's also a completely different thing. And I mean, many games work as free games, and then you have to purchase the stuff within the game.
Yeah.
And that's completely different. Yeah. No, I was just wondering. It was the first time actually I did this kind of job, and it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, if like other companies, because this was for mobile games, and I don't know if, like, for you, for example, for Steam, if this would work as well. No idea.
I have no
But you have no
information to
budget.
inform my opinion, but I would be really surprised if it worked. If ads led to sales of a PC game for 15 plus euro.
I think influencers are still the number one
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
marketing
yeah.
tool.
Yeah, definitely.
If
I think so.
you pull off the ads, I mean, there is ads for games, but they're usually
Oh,
AAA.
by the way, these ads I was talking about are the combination. They're using influencers to do these ads, so they're using both platforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're using their feeds, their followers, of course,
Yeah.
plus are making ads. That's sorry, was misleading.
So I think it's time to draw a winner. Is it?
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
absolutely. I
exciting.
actually only need to push a button. All right, guys, are you ready? Are you ready?
I think we had a very nice talk. I think maybe one thing we could still talk a little bit about is what do you think, Danny, what you can do as an upcoming developer to be a bit visible also on a tight budget?
That's a very well-timed question. Just immediately before I came on here, I was reading a Gama Sutra article about how to get social media attention and marketing before you launch a game. I think it's time. It is the most surefire way. Yeah, just I don't like to say this because I personally don't really like social media. I don't like to be active on it.
Yes.
But that is how you make a name, and that is how you get your name out there. Choose your community wisely. Like, don't engage with people who aren't good to engage with. Like, keep yourself safe. But just time. I think one of the things that I personally like to see most from other creators is just see the process. Like, just see what it's like. Like, I don't want to see only the top 0.001% of your all-time best work. Like, I want to see the down in the mud, getting things done. What are you struggling with? What's difficult right now? What are you working on? I think that's, for me, the most interesting kind of content. And that will get my attention faster than any sort of like super polished advertisement material.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just say, like, if you're an up and coming developer or artist, creator, whatever type, and you want to get your name out there, have a regular schedule, whether that means weekly or daily or bi-weekly, whatever, and just give it time. It will always take time.
That's everything creative, right?
Never hold back in showing your stuff. Show it as soon as possible as you have something to show.
Yeah.
There is nobody gonna steal your idea, because no one knew that Among Us would be that famous,
for example.
So
and just for the other fact that no one has your idea like you do. Yeah, you'll make your work, and you'll make something unique, even if someone else tries to capitalize on an idea that you had. Like, they'll never do it the same way that you do. And if you streamed it first, your community people will bash the others. Yeah. They better. Yeah.
All right.
That's my advice.
I think we are getting to an end here, right? Thank you so much for being here tonight again, Danny. Thank you so much for showing us the world of your production of this game, and also for introducing me to this game, because I'm really looking forward now to it.
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that. And thank you both for the invitation. It really was a pleasure and a super fun time. I had a great time talking.
Thank you
Thank you
also, Skodone, that you joined me tonight here.
A pleasure.
I hope we will do that more often, because I really like the development side of things, and him taking another perspective than I do.